Hey everybody, this is Dana with CoachDanaInspires.com, and we are so excited to have you here today. And we are here with a fabulous guest, and that is David Goldman. And we are, oh dear, we are just really happy that you're here today. Business inspiration. It's Tuesday, and we are so happy you're here today with us. And again, our guest today is David Goldman of Goldman Organization. And if those of you who don't know me, I'm Dana Morgan Barnes, and I am a coach for women entrepreneurs. I help women find their values so they are able to charge what they're worth, find their perfect client, and go out and change the world. But today it's about David and his inspirational business talk that we're going to be going through today. David, how are you? What's going on?
Hi, thanks so much, Dana, for having me. I'm doing great. So it's interesting because we're all trained to say, "Hey, I'm doing great," but the fact is I really am, and I'm very thankful and grateful and fortunate that I'm doing well.
Yeah, yeah. Family's okay. No, the COVID thing is kind of not
Yeah,
affected y'all.
knock on wood, everything's great. So
Yes.
yeah, nobody got sick, and a couple of people came down with what looked like colds, and we were a little hesitant for a while, but everything worked out just fine.
Yeah. Excellent. That's great. Good news. It's always so scary. You're not quite sure what's going on. So good news. Good news. Well, we have gone through now a year of COVID in our lives. A year. That's just crazy time if you think about it. What are you hearing from your clients? You talk to a lot of people, business owners, entrepreneurs, your clients. What are they saying? Are they being optimistic? Are they, still kind of waiting? What's up? What do you hear?
Yeah, well, the short answer is yes, but
Good.
I'll elaborate a little bit because we've probably got more time than just the 3 seconds. So I deal with a lot of professional people. So most of my clients are financial advisors, attorneys, accountants, your accurate business owners, top salespeople, and depending on the markets. First of all, financial advisors and attorneys are doing just fine. They're doing even better.
Yeah.
And accountants, that's never going away because as long as they keep revising tax laws, accountants are always going to be in business. And so my markets are doing fine and they're doing well. And then I teach them to find markets that are doing well. And so as long as you are in that marketplace where people are doing well, you're going to do fine. Now, that's not to say that I don't have empathy for businesses that got hammered. I mean, if you're in the
Yeah.
restaurant business, you got hammered and you've got to make some new decisions, especially after a year, depending on what state you're in. Where I'm in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has recently gone 75%
Huh.
capacity, so they're making a comeback. But based on what markets you play in and what you actually do, you've got to adapt.
Right. Right. And I think people that I talk to, it's that adapting that really makes the difference. Is this may have worked in the past? What's going to work now? And
Yeah.
I really see that in so many organizations and entrepreneurs. So good to hear that it's not just where the people I'm talking to, but it's all over the place. So yay, go out and adapt, everybody. Take the hint, adapt. And
Well, I like that word. I like adapt a lot better than pivot.
I
If I
hate
hear
pivot.
pivot one more time, I think I'm going to scream. But adapt is really, yeah, I think adapt is really a better word because you don't necessarily have to pivot, but you do have to be aware of what's going on. But that's no different than any other time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As as the markets go up and down, as our economy goes up and down, we all have to make those adaptations. And I know that pivot's the fancy, sexy word today, and that's okay. You guys, if you love the word pivot, we love you too. It's okay. It's just, I think right now it's overused. So let's adapt instead. At least that's what I'm going to do. Hi, David. Okay, so what can we do? We're business owners, we're entrepreneurs. What's the best next step? What can we do to really leap out and make that new adaptation for our businesses?
Well, I think that's a great question, Dana. It's interesting. I think that the first thing one needs to do is to have a plan. It's interesting. I did a program toward the end of last year, still way in the middle of the whole pandemic experience, and it was between Christmas and New Year's in that week between. And I did a small program. It was on Zoom, of course, but it was for a networking group that I belong to, and I just mentioned, by the way, this is an excellent time of the year to plan for the next year. Now, there are plenty of times to plan for the next year, and spring is a great time. Beginning of summer is a great time. Day after Labor Day, great time. But certainly between Christmas and New Year's, that week is a great time. So I said, it's a great time to plan. And one guy asked the question, I swear, I promise it wasn't a plant, but he asked the question, he said, how can you even talk about planning when we're in the middle of a pandemic and nobody knows what's going to happen next year? Yeah. And I said, and I smiled and I said, wow, thank you. That's a great question. And I said, I'd like you to tell me a single year that you ever planned for where you knew what was going to happen. And of course, there was silence on the other end. And so it's startling when we think about it. We've never had a year where we knew what was going to happen next. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen in the next half hour. But that doesn't mean don't have a plan. I think you need to have a plan. So I think the best thing that your clients, your listeners, your people, Dana, can do is to have a strategy before you think about the tactics of what you're going to do. I think the most important thing is have a strategy, know what you're doing, know what you're up to, know who you're marketing to, and what's your strategy for reaching them.
Right. I do think that's important. And you make such a good point, David. When have we made plans and then something happened the next day and those plans didn't pan out? I mean, it's so true. And I think we all got so caught up in the pandemic thing that some of us couldn't get past it. We couldn't think past that. But it's the people who could and were thinking ahead and were thinking, okay, I can't do live presentations. What can I do? And then really embrace that. Those are the people who are doing well. And people today, get out there. If you have not changed your mode of operations, guys and gals, hop on, dudes and dudettes, because you got to get going. We can't wait for a meeting planner. We talk a lot about communicating to really get more effective results that you really ever thought you could ever get. So you have to communicate that. So, you've been doing this for a little while now, 30 years, David. 30 years you've been doing this. Crazy time when you think about it. So what would you tell your younger self that you wish someone else would have told you 30 years ago? What would you have said?
Such a good question, Dana.
It's a perfect question.
I think there's three things I would tell my younger self. First of all, I'd say get a coach. Now, when I started 30 years ago, there weren't a lot of coaches around. Today, you can't throw a stone and not hit one. But there were no coaches around back then, and especially in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So coaching was something that was born out of the California, Colorado, foo-foo arena. I know. I say that with tongue in cheek. If you can't smile about what you do, you need to find something else to do.
Absolutely.
I think. So the first thing I would say is get a coach, because if you want to make rapid, accelerated results, it's helpful to have someone who can see your blind spots, because the definition of blind spots is you can't see them because it's blind to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the second thing that I would tell my younger self is write your first book sooner. Don't wait till it's perfect. Just write it and know that it's probably not going to be your seminal work. Know that it might be, there might be a better book coming down the road, but get the first one out of the way.
Right.
And then the third one is to relax. And that doesn't mean don't work hard. It means while you're working, and in most cases working your tail off, that you relax and trust the process, that it's going to be okay. Have faith in the process, have faith that the universe is a good place and it's working for you, not against you.
Right, right. I really appreciate your answers. And when you were talking about writing the book, one of my dear friends loves to say, done is better than perfect.
Exactly.
And if we all could remember that, I think we'd all be a little better off. And that kind of goes along with your trust the process. Get it done, whatever it is, get it done.
Yeah. And I don't say that coming from being a master at that, by the way. If there's anything that makes me effective as a coach, it's not that I'm particularly brilliant. It's that there's hardly a mistake that your listeners could make that I have not made. And so having had that experience, I can work someone through whatever they're going through.
Right.
And so,
yeah. So you may not be perfect, but you might be the perfect coach, because
I'm not sitting on this pedestal like, here's what to, no.
Yeah. You've done it.
And not only that, but I still struggle with it. It only took me, 25 years to write the first book.
Is that it? That's all?
Only 25, yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah. No, and you have it. I think there's so many people out there that I'm writing a book. They haven't put one word on a piece of paper.
Right.
I don't care if you're doing it this way, the old-fashioned way, or typing it into your computer. They haven't put one word. But they got this book. Start putting it down. That's the way I think about books. You got to get it written down, because you can't do anything with it until you do. So, when you look back on this illustrious career of yours, 30 years, you have seen and done a lot. So when you look back over your career, what marketing strategy did you try out that worked better, than you ever thought it would? Did you have a market did that ever happen to you and go, well, I thought that was going to fail, or I wasn't sure about it?
Well, so first of all, I never went into any strategy thinking, well, this is going to fail.
Yeah,
Although some do. But my coach, so I use Mark LeBlanc, and Mark has an interesting perspective on marketing. I've tweaked it a little bit for my people. There's inside marketing. Inside marketing is friends, relatives, and acquaintances, centers of influence that you have. Mark calls those people advocates, and people that people that you've worked with in the past, and any referrals that all those groups would give you. That's all inside. And if you can do your entire business from inside marketing, God bless you, then you ought to. But most of us can't. So especially if we're starting out. So the outside markets, there's about 18 different things you could do, from cold calling to billboards to putting a fishbowl in a restaurant and people dropping cards in it, to putting flyers in windshields, all kinds of things you can do. And Mark's idea is to pick two and drive those things to the moon, and pick two that you like. So if social media is your thing, great, do social media. But I'll add this, pay attention to, if you know what your market is, or you know who your markets are going to be, then pay attention to where would they go to find you.
Right.
So if your market will not go to social media to find you, social media won't work for you. So I figured out early on, I like to talk. I've been talking since I've been 2, and I haven't stopped since. And so I like to talk, and I'm not averse to talking in front of groups. And I found early on that if I talked in front of groups and I talked in front of the right groups,
Yeah.
that would work. And Mark calls that a showcase.
Okay.
And so if I am in front of the right people, business owners, salespeople, and I'm talking about the things that I love to talk about, and it's appropriate for them, something's going to work.
Absolutely.
And then,
Absolutely.
and then in the pandemic, in this past year, Mark has had me look at doing my own showcases. So doing a showcase for my own group of people, since there weren't enough public venues that got shut down. What about getting back to all the people that you've worked with in the past and come up with your own personal showcase? We call it a table of 12, where we invite 12 people into a workshop type environment on Zoom.
Yep.
And I talk about a topic, and I seed my own workshop, my own showcase. And I thought, it's worth a try. What have I got to lose? And it worked like crazy. It really seeded an entire process. So that surprised me.
Yes. Isn't that wonderful? I love that. And it's, I believe our friend Henry DeVries said, it's better to have 30 in the room of your perfect fit than 500 in the room who don't give a rat's about what you're doing.
That's exactly right.
Yay, I had 500 people come to my seminar. But if they all walked out and said, well, that was nice, and none of them wanted you, who cares? So let's have 30 perfect fits. I love that. Do your own showcase. I think that's so. If anybody out there wants to know more about doing your own showcase, certainly David is a great contact. Be sure and contact. You can reach out to David. You can reach out to me. I've done them too. It is phenomenal. It's crazy phenomenal how they work. So yay! Thank you for bringing that up. It's perfect. I love it. And you have so when you do a showcase, you're basically going back to the people who know who you are, and you've worked with them, and it's just so guys and gals out there, this is not cold calling. Oh, please come to my showcase. I hope you like me. No, these are people you already know. So take the word here and think about doing that. I love that. And we are ripping through this, David, and thank you for just such great ideas. I don't want to miss out on any of this. So if there were one skill that would make the biggest difference in someone's business, one skill, what would it be?
Well, thank you for that question. So as you mentioned before, what I really, the difference I really make with people is having them communicate more effectively so that they get the results that they really want. Now, there's a lot of nuance packed into that statement. So the first thing one has to do is really determine what they want. The vast majority of people really don't know what they want. When you ask people what they want, they can much more easily come up with the things that they don't want, which is not a bad thing. It's a good start, because once you know what you don't want, then by contrast, you can reverse it and figure out, oh, well, here's what I do want.
Yeah.
And when you get really clear about what you want, what the results that you really want are, then the key is, how do you communicate more effectively? And most of communication, by the way, is listening. It's pretty trite. It's a cliche that you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, but boy, it never hurts to hear that again. You
Yeah.
know, if you can listen twice as much as you speak. And that's something I'm working on all the time because I like to talk. So that means I gotta listen twice as much. Yikes. But if you can really listen and communicate into what the prospect or client or other person or significant other or whoever it is you're talking to or with, if you can really listen and communicate into what's being said and maybe even what's not being said, then you've got a real shot at communication. 35 years ago, I had the opportunity to work with a guy named Fernando Flores. And Fernando, you can look him up, you can Google him. But Fernando was a very important guy in Allende's cabinet in Chile. And when Allende was overthrown, everybody was killed except for Fernando. Fernando communicated well enough to save his own life, and escaped to California. I had the opportunity to work with him, and he developed this system for communication, and he talked about filters, that we communicate through filters. We all have them. Even people who are said not to have a filter, that's a filter.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, Dana has a filter, David has a filter. So David says something through his filter, it goes through Dana's filter, and then Dana hears whatever she hears.
Right.
And so, and Fernando's idea was if you can control your filter, and you can control your filter. I cannot control Dana's filter. A lot of people try, by the way, not Dana in particular, but a lot of people try to control other people's filters. That's not going to work. But you can control your filter. You can have your filter be the way you want it, and then have respect and consideration for the other person's filter. Then you got a chance at communication. And that's the real heart of my work with people. So I really work with them to learn how to communicate more effectively so that they get the results they want. So once they find, so a salesperson wants more sales. Well, how are you going to communicate in order to get more sales? It's not going to be, oh, please, please, please buy.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Doesn't work.
Although if you say it to enough people, you know, sooner or later someone will buy.
Your mother. Oh well, it's a sound. I don't care. So, you wrote a book, David. Is that true?
I did write a book.
Do you have it? Do you have a copy handy that you can show
us? I do. I have it right here.
Look at that. The Road to Happiness.
It's called The Road to Happiness, if I can get it straight. It's called The Road to Happiness: How to Get What You Really Want.
Love it.
And thank you for asking. It's 9 stories of people that I worked with who hired me for a reason, because they thought they wanted something, and along the way they got what they really wanted. And because here's the thing about communication, here's the thing about life. There's an outer game that we're playing, and there's an inner game that we're playing. And a lot of people just seek to win the outer game.
Okay.
And very few people work on the inner game. So, and there are tons of examples of people who made it on the outer game. People like Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, Jimi Hendrix, John Belushi, you know, tons of people who, Robin Williams, fabulously successful, fabulously accomplished in the outer game, but never really got the inner game.
Yeah.
And until you get the inner game, you're not going to have what you really want, which I find to be fulfillment or self-acceptance. What you really, really want is you want to learn how to accept yourself and actually like yourself. And that's the road. That's why I say the road to happiness. You know, a lot of people say happiness is not a destination, and it's not. Happiness is the road. Happiness is the way you get there, not getting there.
Right.
And I agree with that 100%. But there's a journey that we're all on, and that journey is the journey to self-acceptance.
Right.
It's been a long one for me.
I
So
love
again,
it.
it's a way that
Whoa.
that I can work with people and hopefully guide them as they're on their own journey.
Yeah.
But thanks for
Fabulous. Absolutely. And we can get that on Amazon. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
All right. Super duper. So buy the book. Got some great
Please.
information in it. Absolutely. Yeah. David, we could be chit-chatting here forever. I just cannot believe 25 minutes has gone by. You have given us, I mean, I've got notes and notes and notes from what you've said. So impactful. I love it. I hope my viewers out there, are you inspired or what to get out there and do something about this? You have to adapt. Absolutely adapt. And I love this thing about, you know, your road to happiness. It's that inner, it's the inner self. It's that game, that inner game. And when you say game, it's, you know, we're not playing games. It's not that kind of, it's in here that really will make out here so much better. And wow, I love it. And I hate to call this to an end. This has been so fabulous. And David, thank you so much for being so gracious with your time, your information. And for those of you who would like to possibly get a hold of David, here is his information. Oh, hello. What happened? Oh, dear. Anyway, here's David's information. Woo, we love technology. David's information, here's his phone number, his email, here's his website. Guys and gals, take a look. This is great information. David is a wealth of information, and he's so gracious. David is a very gracious guy. He will love to talk to you, answer your questions, and get that book. It is full of really good, useful, I hate the word stuff, but really good, useful information that we can use. So there it is. And if I can be of any service to you, if you want to be a guest on the show, you have any questions about any of our guests, there's my information right down there, CoachDanaInspires.com. Please contact me. And David, thank you again. This has been so much fun. You are a gem. And until next Tuesday, we'll just say goodbye for now. And thanks so much. Bye-bye, David.
Dana, thank you so much. You're very sweet. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.